to learn about the alpha mentality. Now, let's begin. Becoming an alpha isn't just about doing or saying the right thing. In fact, these behaviors come second to the true essence of an alpha, a strong sense of selfhood cultivated by something called the alpha mentality. Before we define what the alpha mentality is, let's distinguish between two important parts of who we are: behavior and mentality. Behaviors are how we conduct ourselves and operate in the world. They are what others see, react to, and judge us by. But, unfortunately, they're completely see-through. But I'll get back to that in a minute. Mentality, on the other hand, is a product of both our attitude and our frame of mind. Our mentality governs nearly every single thing we do because it controls how we think. Whether we realize it or not, our mentality is constantly moderating our behavior, which means that intention and execution have to match for a behavior to be effective. What does this mean? Well, think about it like this. There are quick and easy tips all over the internet about how to act like an alpha male. So why hasn't everyone done it already? If they just need to behave differently, why isn't every guy drowning in attractive women by now? The truth is that alpha behaviors are only effective when accurately reflecting the person's alpha mentality. In other words, if you're playing it cool, but your brain is having a nervous breakdown, she's going to see right through your cheap disguise. So, if you're an alpha in training, let me save you some time and effort by telling you the truth. The alpha mentality is by far the most important difference between you and a true alpha male. It's not looks, money, body language, or fancy cars. It's the way you think. But how and why is the alpha mentality so powerful? Well, this complicated mental framework essentially boils down to 5 pieces of knowledge that every alpha knows and every beta needs to learn. Number 1, constant evolution. At the root of any alpha male is a willingness to change and transform, a commitment toward bettering oneself in a way that naturally promotes physical, emotional, and social success. Alpha males wake up happy but not satisfied. They look at every day as a chance to improve some aspect of their own lives, and each time they improve, they cultivate an infectious sense of self-confidence. But it doesn't stop there, because each and every day is a new chance to continue evolving as an individual. For guys that struggle to challenge themselves or just want to nurse their own ego, this portion of the alpha mentality can be really difficult because you first have to accept 2 fundamental truths. Number 1, even alphas are flawed. Change is a constant flowing process, meaning you will pretty much never be done with it. If you are looking for a quick fix to your insecurities, this strategy isn't for you, because simply maintaining an alpha mentality is extremely demanding work. Number 2, alphas are happy when incomplete. Alphas learn to treat progress as a more valuable asset than victory, taking advantage of this mindset to push themselves beyond their usual limits. Even if you start your evolution motivated by others, by concentrating on mental transformation instead of external illusions, you will slowly begin transforming and acting for your own sake. Number 2, overcoming fear. Perhaps the biggest blockade standing in the way of any beta male's transition to alphahood is fear. I don't mean phobias like spiders, clowns, or heights. No, I'm talking about personal and social anxieties that manifest as insecurity and apprehension. These feelings worm their way into our thoughts and behaviors, hindering our sense of self with doubt and inadequacy. We are scared of not fitting in, getting rejected, or being disliked. So many guys are servants to their own fear. They live exactly how their fear tells them to live, and, not surprisingly, never get anywhere. Therefore, the second component of the alpha mentality is to address and overcome these psychosocial fears. Alphas are not afraid to express themselves or stand out because they have developed mental fortitude, addressing the underlying issue instead of just slapping on a band-aid. If you're scared that you don't come off as alpha, then most of the time you won't. If you're worried you look like someone you're not, then you probably do. Remember how behavior is see-through? Well, that means your fears and insecurities won't and can't hide behind a cool facade. So instead of covering up your sore spots, do what an alpha would do. Confront your fears to change your mentality. Number 3, receiving dominance. One of the easiest ways to distinguish a true alpha from some run-of-the-mill jerk is by looking at how they interpret one word: dominance. For so many guys, dominance means aggression, violence, and superiority. It means you should constantly put your masculinity on display, making sure everyone knows that you're the biggest, strongest, and smartest man in the room. But this mentality doesn't pull people in, it pushes them away. Their biggest mistake these wannabe alphas make is trying to force dominance on other people, because no one looks up to people they haven't chosen to look up to. They don't respect someone unless they genuinely think they are worth respecting. Dominance is a characteristic given to you, not something you can pull out of thin air, because, much like any alpha behavior, you have to have the mentality to back it up. The truth is that dominance is something you earn when others associate you with leadership, confidence, and fairness. Fairness, in particular, is one characteristic alphas in training tend to overlook. They're so concentrated on boosting themselves that they forget that no one will admire you if you're always looking down on the world. To take on an alpha mentality, you have to keep your ego in check by treating everyone else as your equal. This means respecting their boundaries, acknowledging their successes, and accepting their flaws. People look up to alphas because they can excel in their own lives while remaining humble and unassuming. They don't rely on dominance to complete their personality, so they earn the title of dominant from others by not caring whether or not they are actually seen that way. Number 4, the self as equal. Another major hurdle that betas have to overcome is acknowledging themselves as equals. This means believing that you have as much of a right to be somewhere or say something as anyone else. Oftentimes, guys who struggle to talk to girls have trouble in most social situations. When surrounded by outgoing people, they feel intimidated, anxious, and powerless. They stand in the corner of the room and avoid talking to anyone because they think that they don't have anything to say or they'll get laughed at. This kind of self-sabotage cripples your self-esteem, lowers your confidence, and makes you believe that you are somehow inferior to everyone else in the room. In other words, you're relying on other people's hypothetical opinions to determine your own worth. The alpha mentality, however, requires you to flip the script. Alphas are not afraid to speak their mind because they know without a doubt that they are just as good as anyone else. This frame of mind is essential for effectively flirting with girls, because otherwise you'll spend the whole conversation putting her on a pedestal. Alphas talk to women knowing that the girl's opinion of them won't change who they are. They can be themselves without feeling the need to invest tons of unnecessary effort. They won't compromise their character or dignity to get a girl's attention, because alphas don't need it to validate their masculinity. Therefore, flirting becomes a game between two equals instead of a desperate guy hopelessly chasing after a pretty girl. Number 5, embracing competition. It's no coincidence that alpha males tend to be competitive, but there is one key difference between the way alpha and beta males approach competition. Betas are afraid of losing, so they don't try very hard or at all. Instead of risking their reputation, they'd rather watch from the sidelines, while someone else claims all the glory. Alphas, on the other hand, want to win and aren't afraid to experience failure. Alpha males are often the most driven, ambitious, and productive people in any environment because they are willing to step up when it counts, even if they know it might not work out. Their confidence gives them the courage to be bold and innovative, pursuing their goals no matter what. By constantly performing at their personal best, they open up new opportunities for achievement while evolving as an individual. This element of the alpha mentality also helps attract women, because alphas aren't afraid to go after any girl they want. And it isn't just that they make the first move, it's the fact that alphas truly believe they can and will succeed in any situation. They aren't afraid to go after a girl who is out of their league, because alphas are just motivated further by a challenge. And if they fail, which even alphas do, they don't take it personally or feel the need to overcompensate. Instead, they look at every failure as a chance to move forward, so that next time,